Hi and welcome to A Down Under Yarn. This is episode 3. Today is the 13th of the 1st, 13th of January 2013. I've actually written 2012 at the top of my notes. It's 3:40 in the afternoon in Cairns, tropical North Queensland in Australia. And I'm here for another week of having a yarn with you. First of all, I want to say thank you. I'm absolutely blown away by the reception this podcast has got. From podcasts that I watch, tuning in to have people talking about me, to getting earburns on Ravelry from people I admire so much in the knitting community, saying that they're recommending people watch me. Mimel keeps saying to me, he said, "Oh yeah, you're famous on the intertubes," which is quite funny. I'm not famous. I'm just a knitter. I'm just me. Just me, nothing more, nothing else. But thank you, everyone, for the encouragement and for the appreciation. One thing I will say, I don't have an accent. Who says I've got an accent? It's bizarre to think so. There we are. There's some insects in the garden. You can hear them today. They're going to be competing, I think, for the sound. The neighbour's house has been unoccupied for, I think it'll be over 2 years now. They've just been showing people through. 2 days in a row they've shown people through. So we might be getting new neighbours yet. I just want to have a quick chat, and I didn't know if to bring this up at the beginning or the end, and I think I'll bring it in now, and I've been talking about accent. It also lends itself to language. I will probably say things that to a foreign ear sound quite bizarre, sound strange, and have a different connotation where you are. I don't say things to offend people. I say things that amuse me, I suppose. I say things that are common to my community. I've always said that language is what we make it. We're the people that give power to words. In Harry Potter, when Dumbledore says, by not calling, Voldemort, you're giving him more power. By saying that some words are off limit, gives them a lot of power, and I suppose adds to their impact. I'm not one that goes around swearing and cursing all the time, although some people may disagree. And I hope that, there's a time and place for certain things, but once again, we're the ones that give words power. So if people take offence to something I say, or something someone else says, I think we need to look at what sort of power that word has and how that reflects back to some of the ways we think. There's been some discussion this week on Plurk about the term HO for half-finished object, the acronym, 2-letter acronym. And again, it's someone else giving power to something and saying that, yes, they may feel offended. You're not being forced to use that word. But, sorry, that's not what this podcast's about. And I just actually wanted to say about language. And probably my example would be, in Australia, fanny has a totally different connotation to what it does in the United States. So we actually have bum bags. We don't have fanny packs, we have bum bags because, as my friend's young daughters would say, a fanny is your front bottom, not your back bottom. So we probably wouldn't go around saying, when the nanny came out, in Australia, there was Rob, she was out in her fanny, and everyone thought that was just, ooh, how rude, clutching at pearls. But yeah, so if I do say something, please ask me about it. Please question me on the Ravelry board, send me a message, send me a private plurk, tweet me, whatever you feel comfortable in doing, do that. I will never intentionally set out to upset anyone. I suppose we all say that, but I don't think... I think I've always tried to live a very inclusive life, and one of my strong values is inclusivity. So I don't want to exclude people because of beliefs, race, etc. And that also goes to language. So please tell me if I slip up at any stage. Back to thanks, sorry. I wanted to say thank you for patterns I've been gifted this week. Pretty unexpected and not something I set out to look for. And I think that's probably what Carrie meant when she started her random acts of patterns. They were random. They were pretty amazing. Firstly, Nurse Apps 22 gifted me the intersecting mittens pattern, which goes with the intersecting intersection breaks hat from Emsky Knits, which I knitted last week and the week before. I know I won't have any use for mittens here, but I was thinking I might actually try the pattern and make them as fingerless mitts because she's done the cabling beautifully. Again, gorgeous pattern. I can't wait to try it out. Mavie, who was one of our first members in the group and is an absolute darling, gifted me crosswords at the coffee shop by Knit Pearl Girl Carrie. It was the only Carrie pattern I didn't actually have yet, and I'd been waiting because I knew that I didn't want to knit an Aran weight shawl in the middle of summer. I discovered Carrie shortly before she died. The random acts of patterns intrigued me. I think I caught 1 or 2 episodes before she died, and she is an immense loss to the podcasting community. I think one of the things that when I was thinking about podcasting, I looked at her blog, and her last blog post was about podcasting and encouraging others to do that. And I would encourage everyone who wants to share their knitting, do it. Do it either via a podcast, create a blog. It's easy to create a blog to share your adventures. There are lots of people, lots of blogs that I follow that will talk about their FOs, their whips, and probably talk about them in more detail. A little insect, talk about them in more detail than they will on their Ravelry page. It also lets them bring forward some of their opinions, and that's, I suppose, partly what a podcaster does. We give opinion and commentary. So yeah. Anyway, Mavie gifted me the crosswords at the coffee shop, and that is something that I will knit in the cooler months, probably as a gift. I was thinking that it's quite a pretty pattern. I might actually do it for my mum in a nice navy blue. We're huge football Aussie Rules fans, and she goes to the games each week in Geelong, in Melbourne, and wherever they're playing. And yeah, I think she would be able to use that at football. And also Shanty Dragon. She's my podcast sister. We both started out when Carol and Cor Shirley from Girlfriends Knitting, when her father became ill. She put out the call, as I've said before, for people to podcast, and we both did. We both put up our trial 10-minute YouTube clips, which I think are still available on the Girlfriends Knitting Ravelry group. And we've both developed regular podcasts. So we're podcast sisters with Cor Shirley as our mum, which is really quite lovely. And she gifted me the Second Chances hat with the most beautiful message with it, which meant a lot to me. And that's something I plan to knit up very soon. It's a Karina Spencer pattern that I've had in my queue for a while since it came out, because I knitted Zuzu's Petals, the cowl, early on, and I wore that when I met our Prime Minister last year, who is a knitter, and she commented on it, so it's pretty special to me. And I have a photo of Julia and I, and I'm wearing my Zuzu's Petals, and yeah, it was just lovely. Week that was. The kids have been home, which has been really good. It's been nice. Jasper had drama school Tuesday to Friday between 9 and 3. It was improvisation this week, so the kids got together. They had a theme, which was horrible mysteries. So I was looking at myths and developing that, as only kids between the ages of about 8 and 12 can come up with some wacky things and what their ideas of mythological creatures are and mythological characters. Hey, apparently one of the boys had a big argument that he thought Mario was a mythological character, and yeah, the guys that teach them there said perhaps not, but perhaps we're looking a bit further back than Super Mario. But he had lots of fun. Imogen's been catching up with friends, been working. It's been quite nice for her, I think. This is, of course, our summer holidays. People probably don't realise. My kids go to this class is a private school. It's the school their dad wants them at, which is why they're there, and they get a bursary to attend there. They start school earlier in the morning and finish 15 minutes later than a state school, but it means they get extra holidays at the end of the year. So they broke up on the 27th or 28th or something of November, and they go back on the 28th of January. So it's 2 months off, which is a very long time. I think if I was a teacher at the school, I think that the pressure is pretty immense on the teachers. but they deserve their time off. They stay back for a week to 2 weeks afterwards, where they do more in-service and teacher preparation and work out class lists for the following year, because the new academic year will start in the end of January, early February around Australia. That's where we have 4 terms in Queensland. So first term will start then, finishes around Easter, then we get 2 weeks holiday then, 2 weeks in June, July, 2 weeks in September, October, and then the big Christmas break. So yeah, it's nice. It's the hottest time of the year, so the kids get to relax, although it has sent my sleep patterns totally out of whack. I'm really trying to get to bed earlier. Last night I made a concerted effort and I was in bed at 12:30 instead of 1 o'clock. Yeah, probably I need to get back to being in bed by 10:30, lights out by 11, but hey. I've been busy scouring for jobs. I've registered at a couple of agencies. I've redone my resume, included new stuff in that. It's a tough time to be getting jobs because the people who are at uni have just finished. The kids who have just finished school who don't want to go into uni are looking for jobs. And if I'm going for an admin job, which is probably the most common thing that's around, and I go for an interview and an 18-year-old goes for an interview, they pay the 18-year-old 50% of what they pay me. So it's a bit of a no-brainer at times. But still, there were 5 jobs in yesterday's paper I can apply for. 2 of them are part-time, and one of them was only 6 hours a week, which wouldn't really do very much, but it would give me a foot in the door. Another one was 24 hours a week, which would be good, especially if I was going to study. So I'm not desperate yet. I think I'm a lot better than I was last week. I was pretty shocked last week. Still, I'm going in tomorrow to collect my personal belongings from work, which will be challenging. I'm taking a friend with me, so yeah. Been tending our veggie garden. I have 3 raised garden beds down there, which I will actually show you probably one day. And last week, I think last Sunday evening, planted some sweet potatoes, some carrots, what else did we put in? Some basil, coriander. Coriander hasn't coped well in the heat. It usually does, but this week I think it's been so hot, and we aren't getting our evening drenching rains that we usually do. And even though I've been watering, we've got a bore here, which is great. They've still wilted during the day, and I've put some watermelon seeds in. Be interesting to see if they come up. I've had mixed success with them. I had something that popped up down there from the compost. I don't know if it was meant to be a pumpkin or a zucchini or a cucumber, but whatever it was, it had beautiful flowers, and then nothing came from them. So there was obviously all male flowers or all female flowers or whatever it was. So we'll see what happens. I like the idea of self-sufficiency. We've got friends who are really into hydroponics. They've got a hydroponics set up, really, really well done. And yeah, so on to the knitting. There's actually not a lot to show. I have 2 FOs though. One is a secret project, which was a test knit, and hopefully I'll show that to you later. It'll be well worth the wait. As soon as the pattern comes out, there goes something off the table. As soon as the pattern comes out, I will be raving about it because it is awesome. I can't say anything else. So, lips are sealed. There you go. The second one is my Liesel, which I am wearing today. Yes, middle of summer, and I have found a hand knit I can wear. So I am absolutely thrilled with this. It is a pattern by Isolde Teague, Liesel, L-E-I-S-L. Think of the Sound of Music, and Liesel was one of the daughters. And yeah, I knit this out of brown sheep cotton fleece. It calls for a worsted or Aran weight yarn. Brown sheep cotton fleece advertises itself as a worsted weight. I think it's more a DK. It's quite a light worsted. Tangled Yarns, which is probably my local yarn shop, which is 1,400 kilometres away. They send out a weekly newsletter. The people there have knit lots and lots of them out of both brown sheep cotton fleece and also out of Cascade, the Cascade Ultra Pima, which, yeah, I followed Darren, who's Pixie B on Ravelry, followed her modifications. So I did an I-cord cast on around the neck and then carried that down here, down both fronts. Lift that up a bit so you can see. I I think it says to use a 7mm needle. I cast on with a 6.5, knit it with a 6. I went up to a 50-inch bust size. I have a weird body shape. I have not been very blessed in the bosom area. So when I look at patterns, I look at the chest measurement, then usually have to go up anyway because to go around my hips and my waist. I measured my bust in, must have been one of my exceptionally good bras, and I think it came in at 46, which bears no correlation to my waist and hips. But I thought with an open styled garment, it wouldn't really matter. It didn't take me 2 nights, the 2 nights that it takes Kelly from Tangled Yarns. It took me a couple of weeks, but I did do the other knitting in between, so it wasn't pure monogamy. My mods are in my show notes. What else? I did the cap sleeves. I have massive tuck shop arms, you know, woo, wobble wobble, and I find that short sleeves can actually accentuate them more because things are very tight around there. So I just did the cap sleeves, which was cast off. It suggests you can do a picot bind off. I did a super stretchy bind off, both on the sleeves and on the bottom, and that's worked really, really well. It is absolutely gorgeous. I can see myself knitting more. I can see why it's so addictive. Feather and fan is just beautiful. I, of course, did it all in stockinette. That was my other modification. And I thought I'd try and see how much I can show you. You can see I was concerned about the length, but I played yarn turkey. Excuse my chair. You can see down the back there. Feather and fan. Yeah, I played yarn turkey last night. I bought 3 skeins of the brown sheep cotton fleece. There's the band from one of them. It is the colourway 005, which is Caven, which is just black. First time I've ever knit something totally in black as well, which is a newbie for me. Bought 3 skeins, thinking with the size I was knitting I'd possibly need 3 skeins. After the first skein, I think I'd separated the arms, and I thought, yeah, I think I'm going to need a 3. But by the time I got towards the end of the second, I thought, I think I'll do this just with the 2. I knew that the cotton would probably stretch down with use and with washing, with blocking, and I thought, So I did that, and I got to the bottom, and I thought, I've got enough here just for 1 more. And then I thought, I looked at my bind off, and I got the amount that I had left, and I wound it around and went back and back again, and it went halfway back again, so I had 2.5 times the width. And I think if I'd done a normal cast off, I probably would have been fine, but I wanted to do the super stretchy cast off just so that I could allow it to open up and so it wouldn't sort of pull. And of course I ran out about 3/4 of the way through. So I did another Russian join and used about 3 or 4 yards of, if that. I wouldn't have even used that of the 3rd skein. So I've still got most of the 3rd skein. I've got quite a bit of cotton fleece. A friend who got married last year, I knit some butterflies for her daughter's hair for the wedding and helped with crocheting. I believe we've got a little visitor here. Jasper's just about to come out. I don't think he's got a question, but he doesn't realise that Mummy's podcasting and can't talk to him at the moment. Not going to make a cameo?
Well,
yeah, no. I haven't got any super glue at the moment, but I'll probably be about 15-20 minutes and then I can do it then. You want to come and say hello to everyone?
hello.
This is Jasper, okay? Wearing a shirt that's far too small for him. Okay.
Yeah, okay, bye.
See you, Cham. Okay, so we're going to have cameos each week. Excellent. Yeah, he's got a bit of a sense of humour. The one thing I did do as well, sorry, I only did 1 buttonhole at the top, and I got 1 little button, which I really quite liked, except after wearing it today, it keeps popping, so it's obviously too small, even though it just fit through there. I forgot cotton will stretch. The length of this I'm thrilled with, absolutely thrilled with it, and I now feel like I'm a real knitter because I've knit something that I can wear. It's not just a hat or a pair of socks or something. So I think I keep having all these milestones of when I think I'm a real knitter. When I did a washcloth, which was my first ever project, I did Granny's favourite, and I thought, that's okay. And then I did a hat, and I thought, no, I'm turning into a real knitter. And then I was gifted one of the Elizabeth Zimmerman books, and I thought, I've got an EZ book on my bookshelf. I'm getting to be a real knitter. Now I've knit myself a garment that fits. I'm feeling like I am, again, turning into a real knitter. So watch this space, I suppose. Whips, I don't really have a lot. I've got minimal socks again. I said I was going to try and have a hoe, but I don't. I have a her, I suppose. A quo, quarter finish object. Quo? Whatever. I have an incomplete garment item. Socks, garments, whatever. So I've started on the foot. He's got huge feet. I think that's why I'm sort of going, I'm doing a few rows at a time and thinking, yeah, I spent about an hour last night thinking of what else I can cast on. I'm going to a seminar all next Sunday, and I thought, I'm going to need some good knitting. Instead of thinking, hey, I'll probably finish the socks then, that'd be fantastic if I can do that, I thought, I could cast on a shawl, and if I did the Hogwarts Express, I could just do the garter, or I could do the Henslow that's been in my queue for ages and just do the top bit there, or I could do this, or I could do that, and I'm thinking, nah, I've actually got to keep going with these. So I'm going to try and work on these the most this week. I have my Aranumi shawl as well, which hasn't seen any love this week. Get going with that. Still talking about casting on the Even Star, and I might get going with that this week. I'm feeling a bit more in the right headspace. I am also going to definitely do a snuggle, which probably leads me to acquisitions, because yesterday I went looking for buttons for this, and I went to Spotlight, which is, I think, probably equivalent to Joann's, from what I can gather. They have a yarn sale at the moment, and I had high expectations, which were very soon dashed. I could have got a whole lot of novelty yarn that for some reason no one's buying, and they've got it on discount. I don't understand it, personally, but hey. I even looked at it with the thought of snuggles, and I thought, I wouldn't even do that to a pet, I'm sorry. I've got enough acrylic here in colours that I'll use that for the snuggles. There was one that felt really, really nice, but when I looked at it, the balls themselves, I probably would have needed to buy 4 or 5, and it would have ended up being a wee bit expensive. So I didn't do that. However, in their fabric section, because we're in the middle of summer, they had a whole lot of their interlock and their polar fleece, etc. on sale. And look, it's little puppies. So I was able to get, I don't know, that's it folded in half, which is a bit more than a yard. There's me holding it upside down. I got a metre, although I had the new girl there helping, and she couldn't measure a metre, which was really, really good, because I said, she goes, I know, I've got to make sure that it's right level, and she kept pulling it out. So I think I've got about 1.2 if I'm lucky. And yeah, and it's fleecy lined. It's very cute, and I've got heaps of it. So what I plan to do is a couple of fabric snuggles with this. I have seen a pattern on the Snuggles website. I have a sewing machine and an overlocker that I haven't used since the kids were born. Imogen turns 15 in a few weeks, so I assume they work. I think I got the sewing machine out once to mend a school uniform when she was in prep, and it jammed on me, and I just went, whatever. The overlocker, it's going to need some serious servicing if ever it's going to get used again, so I don't know. And I thought, I could see this week if I have time, but then they had just interlock. Interlock, is that what you call it? What do you call it? I'm not a fabric person. T-shirt material. This is actually a red. It's showing up a bit orange on the screen. Yeah, whatever. And there's a pattern where you cut strips of that and you put holes in there and you tie them around and do all that. So I'm going to do that. I am catching up with a friend from our Cairns Ravellers who's a mad crocheter on Wednesday morning, and I'm just going to... She showed me how to do a granny square last year, and I've kind of forgotten. But I'm also going to get her to show me a treble again, which what we call a treble, apparently other people call a double crochet, or I get confused. Whatever it is, the thing where I go up and then I go in and I go up and I go in and around. And I'm going to see if I can enter the trifecta, because I've got, I promised 3 people blankets for the Snuggles Project. If you want to know more about the Snuggles Project, you can go to the Yarnivore podcast, go to the Yarnivorous Ravelry board, or look in the show notes. I'm also in a couple of swaps, and I'm sending those off in a couple of weeks' time. But the yarn for those, one of them arrived last week and I forgot to get it out. The theme is the rainbow swap. We've been doing colours. We started off with purple, then we went red, orange, yellow, green and blue. And now we're doing, there's two concurrent. There's a black swap and a rainbow swap. I'm actually doing both of them. The black one, here we are. I've got a Morris & Sons were having an online sale, and I got a Zauberball Stark 6. I don't know what 6 is in German, I think. Sorry, Kimberlolly, I fail. You need to teach me. Anyway, so that's black and white and grey, which is really, really nice. So hopefully the recipient will like that. And if you're watching and you're in the Australian Swappers, maybe coming your way. They say that you should always order something that you'd like to receive yourself. And I find that I order things for swaps, and I think I should have ordered more of that. And this is a case in point. Oh, there goes someone with a nice big truck and tinted windows. Anyway, I thought I should have ordered. This is more of this because look at this. Isn't that just gorgeous? This is from Etsy, from Hearthside Fibres. It's called Crayon Box. It's a fingering weight, 60% superwash merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon. It's just amazing, and I'm pretty sure the person it's going to is going to really like it. Anyway, so I thought I'd show you that and recommend heading there. Apparently they've got a Ravelry group, and absolutely gorgeous looking yarn, so quite variegated. You will see that. I pulled out as well one of my Wollmice that I got in a D-stash that I was planning on knitting one of Carrie's shawls with, either the Lady Edith or the Walnut Grove. Haven't made my mind up yet which one. It's gorgeous blues, and it's my colour blues. Yeah. I'm thinking I'll probably end up using this for the Walnut Grove and then using a lighter one for the Lady Edith. But I'm not quite sure. I got this out because I almost wound it last night getting ready to cast something else on, even though I've got lots of other things as well. So we'll see. My other acquisition. Each year at Cairns Central Shopping Centre, they have a calendar stand. They start in about November, where they sell calendars for the following year. And apparently some people use calendars still. I use my iDevices for all my calendars. I don't usually have anything hanging in the kitchen or anything anymore. I don't really wear a watch either, which I think is probably a new thing. But the calendar place has things usually full price up until about the 23rd of December. Then they go down to 70% off, and they go down to 50% off. And on Friday, they closed today, they were 75% off. And they happen to have this, which is, here we are, the 2013 knitting calendar, 100 plus patterns throughout the year, plus 12 bonus patterns. I got this last year, same time, 70%. There's only one this year, so I couldn't send one to a friend like I did last year. Sorry. I got it last year, and I went through it. I didn't necessarily do it every day. I usually did it at the end of the month and looked at the different patterns. And some of them were patterns that are paid-for patterns on Ravelry. I haven't actually knit anything from it, but I thought for $6 to get 112 patterns or thereabouts, and on the back you can see a sample of some of them. Yeah, if I go the right way. And I thought, yeah. So, $6, hey, can't go wrong. This week, I am going to be doing some job applications. I'm going to go to uni and pay a visit and see what I have to do, what is left for me to do so that I can graduate. because that's one of my goals for this year. Last week with the job drama, I forgot to list my knitting goals or my goals for 2013. And I think I'm not usually one for resolutions, and as I think I said in my first podcast, I believe every day is a new day. And just because a calendar rolls around and the year changes, every day the day changes, and every day you can make changes that you feel will benefit you. And if they don't benefit you, you know you've tried them, and you can go back and do things again. I have been eating a lot healthier. One thing is we have a new cafe in town. It's been there a few months, called the Paleo Cafe, which has all paleo food. And Mimmel got really, really enthusiastic, and I went along. The food is absolutely awesome. It is to die for. We went there yesterday, and we were actually there Saturday last week for lunch. Mimmel took me out for lunch, and we had really, really lovely omelettes. Called in, I think, Tuesday. He has Tuesdays off, so he took me out to lunch on Tuesday, which is very nice. And again, really, really, really yummy food. And picked up a book, and he read it in a night and says, "Read this, read this." And he's a doctor. He says he's very sceptical about things, especially to do with the body, because you get all sorts of snake oil salesmen that tell you they promise the world and it doesn't necessarily work. The book that he had, it was quite scientific and explained the reasonings behind the program or the way of living, way of life. And he said it made sense. I've started reading it and it does make sense. So starting tomorrow, we are going to be starting paleo. Yesterday, I picked up this book, which is the Practical Paleo book by Diane Sanfilippo, which has tear-out guides. It also has 30-day meal plans. So we're going to try one of those. Next Sunday, we're going to an all-day seminar. We've got some paleo people coming to Cairns, so we're going to that. Which, if nothing else, it means I'll get a day of uninterrupted knitting. So that's win-win. Kids are off to their dad tomorrow. It's holidays, so he gets some block time with them. They're off there for a week, so it'll be a quiet week. I'll be able to get lots of knitting done, although I'm trying to schedule things in the morning as well so that I've got reasons to get up, because I know myself that I don't. So I was talking about goals, wasn't I? So here I am just rabbiting on. Lucky I do have some notes here. So for my health, I know I have to make changes. I have to lower my blood pressure. My blood sugar is controlled because of some medication I take, and that's not because I've ever shown to have high blood sugar, but I'm predispositioned to it. I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which includes such things as metabolic syndrome, which includes insulin resistance. So losing a few kilos would help that. And hey, it's hot, and liking when there's a bit of extra weight, yeah. I am back at the gym. I went twice this week. My goal is to get up to going 3 times a week, and not necessarily every day. Imogen's joined the gym with me. She has to have a parent there to supervise her, and she thinks there's nothing wrong with going every day, and for her there's not. It's great. But for me, it's a bit much at the moment. With my fitness levels, I've sort of been a member of the gym for ages, but for the last 6 months have missed more sessions than I've been to. So I've got a great trainer, some great weights during the week. He was very kind to me, except he did do measurements and it wasn't pretty. But hey, I knew that. I knew what my bust measurement was. I was actually wearing a sports bra, and it came in more than what it did otherwise. And I thought, I'll need to wear my sports bra now instead of wearing other bras, just so that will help. Anyway, my knitting goals. I found this really hard. I suppose being a relatively new knitter, I added up how much I knit last year, and it was about 6 kilometres. I can't remember what it was in yards now, which I've converted into miles, which I then converted into kilometres. And I thought that's probably from here into town. And I had one very stressful job at the start of last year, which at one stage was full on for a few weeks. So I got very, very little knitting done. I had other times where I didn't do a lot. I don't want to put pressure on myself to knit for the sake of knitting. I want to knit because I enjoy it. But I still think it's important to have some goals and to know where you want to go. So I thought I'd like to explore stranded colour work. It's something I've done before, and there's a hat pattern, and it's in my queue, and I can't remember what it's called, and I got it as one of the New Year promotions. I can picture it, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, I'll put it in the show notes. I'd like to knit that, see how I go with that before I go on to anything else. I'd like to say that I'm going to knit 6 pairs of socks. I think that's reasonable. Ideally I'll knit more, but try and knit 6, finish 6 pairs of socks. So knit 12 socks which match another sock. So knit 12 socks but have them matching. I don't know, whatever. 6 toys, because I actually find that quite fun. I'm a new toy knitter. I'm crap at seaming arms and legs on. If anyone wants to do a tutorial on that, I'd much appreciate it. 6 shawls. I have a number of shawls in my queue that I really want to get done. 2 garments I think I've put down. I have yarn for 3, at least 4. I've got yarn for 4 garments. But I only want to say that I want to do 2. See how we go with that. I don't think they have to be big garments. I'll probably class this as a garment. So I'm not going to class this as one of my garments for the year at the moment. Although I might get to the end of the year and have to if I want to cheat. But we'll see how we go. I have the low tide cardigan I'm really, really eager to try. Although a fingering weight cardigan, some of my size. Plus, if I am sizing down a bit, I don't know if I want to knit garments that I possibly won't be wearing that much. Not that I'll be wearing them much to begin with. Anyway, sorry. Another work from my queue. I have quite a big queue, and I have quite a few patterns that I own in my queue. So my queue at the moment is 3 pages. I don't want to get it any longer than 3 pages. And I think to do that, I'm going to have to be casting on things and casting them off. I haven't included little projects like hats and mittens and gloves and whatever in my goals, but I know that they come up from time to time. So that's that. I think I'm at the end of my notes. I feel like I've rambled a lot and I've gone for a bit longer than I have in past weeks. I'm hoping this week that, so this is my notebook that I put my notes in. It's actually a moleskin book, which I really, really like. Again, red, but showing up orange. I am recording again in iMovie HD instead of iMovie 11 with the hope that the sound will be synced with my lips, because I looked like a bit like a marionette last week. Anyway, marionette, whatever, puppet, where my lips weren't in sync. So hopefully, apparently it's a known iMovie 11 problem. This should overcome it. I am going to compress it less than I compressed it last week, because it was a huge file for such a short podcast, but more than I compressed it the week before. So I think it's a bit Goldilocks. That one was too small. That one was too big. Hopefully this one will be just right. And until next week, I will say happy knitting. And, I'll probably be recording on Saturday next week because I've got the Sunday seminar. So we'll see how we go with that. I hope things are lovely where you are. Thank you again for everyone who's joined the Ravelry group. Come in, say good day, have a yarn, share something. It's wonderful to see people starting up threads in there again. I've got some great podcasts that people are listening to and watching that they've listed. I've discovered quite a few more myself this week. It's great having all this time off work. I've gone from having, I've still got 7 or 8 podcast episodes that I need to get to, and I've got 3 of that person, 2 of that person, and I really need to get to them. And I've been able to get through all of those and then go, I need more. I think with all podcasts, it takes a couple of episodes to get into anyone. There's no one I've ever watched that I've gone, no, I'm not going to watch them again. I always give them a couple of views, and I encourage you to do the same. I think I can think of 2 podcasts now that I would not miss, that when I first watched them I went, what is this? And then I think once I realised that it was just amazing and fun and awesome, it's changed things. So, hey, if you'd like some new podcasts to watch, there's quite a few listed in that thread. Search me out, add me on Ravelry, Plurk, Twitter. I haven't caught up with Twitter ads. I must do that this afternoon. Wherever, everywhere, anywhere. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Okay, cheers. Uru.